हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडित प्रणाम और श्रीला प्रभुपाद।
Krishna Jai. Thank you so much, Madhuri Prabhu. So let's welcome all of you saying Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Hari
Hari.
Bol, Hari Bol.
So also welcome His Grace Madhuri Prabhuji. Prabhuji is going to take it today. The devotional services surpasses all liberations. So it's a very wonderful topic, and let's hear from Prabhuji. So also welcome Prabhuji saying Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Please start.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bharevacha Patitanam Pavanevaya Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So we are in the discussion on Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The eastern part, and as we heard in previous classes that there are different waves of this vast ocean of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And in that eastern side, we start with the discussion on sadhana bhakti, and these chapters are dealing with sadhana bhakti, and in that this particular chapter talks about devotional service surpasses all liberation. Srila Prabhupada in this chapter, he rather quotes verses from various scriptures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, quoted by spoken like Srimad Bhagavatam. We see the conversation of different personalities. So we'll see these different statements from great devotees, further substantiating this particular part, that devotional service surpasses all liberation, that a pure devotee does not desire liberation. Common form of liberation, which is most prevalent, is Sayujya Mukti. In earlier chapter, we also saw that there are 5 kinds of liberation: Sayujya Mukti, Sharishti Mukti, Sarupya Mukti, Samipya Mukti, Salokya Mukti. Right. So Sayujya Mukti is one in which an individual wants to merge into the Supreme Lord. Right. He wants to merge into the Supreme Lord. That's very mukti which the devotees never desire. There are 4 further spiritual opulences in these other 4 forms of mukti. Like Sarupya Mukti means having the same form of the Lord. Salokya Mukti means living in the same planet as the Lord. Samipya Mukti means living very near, means associating with the Lord. And Sarishti Mukti means having the same opulences as the Lord. Right. So though these are higher spiritual opulences, a devotee does not desire them. Right. A devotee does not even desire these 4 forms of mukti, though it could may be granted to a devotee. Devotee does not desire bhukti or mukti. Bhukti means sense enjoyment. Mukti means liberation. Right. So both is not desired by devotee, and we'll see in various verses quoted by Srila Prabhupada in this particular chapter how it's further substantiated on this primary principle. So initially quotes Maharaj Prithu, who now has just completed 99 Ashwamedha Yagya and is about to do his 100 Ashwamedha Yagya. And it's mentioned in the Shastra that one who performs 100 Ashwamedha Yagya automatically qualifies to become Lord Indra. Right? Automatically qualifies to become Lord Indra. So we see Lord Indra definitely is not after too happy about it. Their own his position would be in a problem. So he kind of tries to stop it in different ways, and he approaches Lord Brahma approaches Pitu Maharaj, and we see Pitu Maharaj nicely mentioning here, which is from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 20th chapter, 24th verse. My dear Lord, if after taking liberation, I have no chance of hearing the glories of your lordships, glories chanted by pure devotees from the core of their hearts in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation or this so-called spiritual emancipation. I shall simply always pray unto your lordships that you may give me millions of tongues and millions of ears, so that I can constantly chant and hear of your transcendental glories. Right. Rupa Goswami is mentioning this. Right. Quoting this particular words from Maharaj Pithu, where he is desiring millions of tongues and millions of ears. And we see similarly Rupa Goswami in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, there's a quotation where Rupa Goswami himself also desires millions of tongues and millions of ears, so that he can constantly glorify the Supreme Lord and hear about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So here Prithu Maharaj is mentioning that he does not know, if in liberation all these things, the glories, the hearing about the glories of the Supreme Lord ceases, and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord ceases, then I don't want liberation. Right. I don't want liberation, any form of liberation. So he's offering his prayers to the lordships that the Lord gives him millions of tongues and millions of ears, so that he can constantly chant and hear of his transcendental glories. Let me see 1 minute. Can you see my slide, right, completely? Yeah. Okay, skip some slide. Yeah. Then further we see the 5th canto, 14th chapter, 44th verse, Sukdev Goswami is mentioned to Parikshit Maharaj, where he is quoting Bharat Maharaj, King Bharat, from whom this Bharatvarsha comes into being, the son of Rishabdev, who gives up all his kingdom, right? The great soul King Bharata was so much attached to the service of the lotus feet of Krishna that he very easily gave up his lordship over the earthly planet. And his affection for his children, society, friends, royal opulence, and beautiful wife. He was so very lucky that the goddess of fortune was pleased to offer him all kinds of material concessions. But he never accepted any of these material opulences. So he praises the behavior of King Bharata very highly. And Sukadeva Goswami says, any person whose heart is attracted by the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Madhusudana does not care even for that liberation which is aspired to by many great sages, what to speak of material opulences. So Bharat Maharaj gave up all his kingdom. Now, he was the king of the entire universe. It was called Bharatvarsha. So he gave up his universe, the kingdom. He gave up his children, society, friends, wife, right? Went to the forest. It's mentioned that he goes to Gandaki River near Nepal, and he's performing austerities and ultimately worshipping the Supreme Lord in his heart, right? Worshipping the Supreme Lord in his heart, and advances to the stage of bhava, complete devotional service in ecstasy, complete devotional service in ecstasy, right? Then unfortunate thing happens that she sees a deer deliver a baby, and the mother passes away. So to save that baby, she goes to help, and then somehow becomes attached to uh, uh, the baby, and ultimately, in his next life, he takes birth as a deer, but still attracted to the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, and hearing about the glories of the Supreme Lord. And then, in his next life as Jat Bharat, he does not want to take any more chances, right? And we see that in all these 3 lifetimes, he is completely chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord and is attracted and performing devotional service. Then we see Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 11th chapter, 25th verse, the statement of Vitrashur. He is Ashur, right? But he is praying to the Supreme Lord, my dear Lord, by living your transcendental service, I may be promoted to the planet called Dhruvaloka, the pole star, or I may gain lordships over all the planetary systems of the universe. But I do not aspire to this, nor do I wish the mystic perfections of yoga practice, nor do I aspire to spiritual emancipation. All I wish for my Lord is your association and transcendental service eternally. So he's attracted to getting the association of the Supreme Lord and serving the Supreme Lord eternally. Not that by association of Supreme Lord he wants to become one with the Supreme Lord, or he wants to get the opulence of the Supreme Lord, or he wants to enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord. He just wants to serve the Supreme Lord. And there's a demon, right? We see that in his previous life he was King Chitraketu. He was, somehow he had jokingly remarked when he saw Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati together. And he made a joking comment, and Mother Parvati had cursed him to become a demon. So as Vitrashur, he conquers all the demigods, and the Supreme Lord comes in front of him, and he's offering his prayers to the Supreme Lord, and he remembers his devotional service which he performed as King Chitraketu, and starts glorifying, offering prayers to the Supreme Lord. Right. So that's Vitrashur. Prayers of Vitrashur. Lord Shiva to Sati. My dear Sati, persons who are devoted to Narayan are not afraid of anything. They become like Narayan Parayan. They're not afraid of anything. If they are elevated to the higher planetary systems, or if they get liberation from material contamination, or if they are pushed down to the hellish condition of life, or in fact in any situation whatever, they are not afraid of anything. Simply because they have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Narayan. For them, any position in the material world is as good as another. Here, Lord Indra is mentioned to Mother Diti. Diti is in fact mother of all the Asuras, and Aditi is the mother of all the demigods. But they are sisters of the still Indra Normans. We see Diti makes some plan to kill Lord Indra, creates an embryo where Lord Indra, by his thunderbolt, he kind of attacks that embryo and splits that embryo into 7. And still, we see that those 7 split of that embryo becomes the 7 maruds, and then further he cuts them and becomes 49 maruds. And instead of then killing them, he said, "Oh, instead of them becoming asuras, let them become demigods." Right. Mentions to Mother Diti, my dear mother, persons who have given up all kinds of desire and are simply engaged in devotional service to the Lord know what is actually their self-interest. Such persons are actually serving their self-interest and are considered first-class experts in the matter of advancing to the perfection stage of life. So what is our self-interest? The question could come then ultimately, what do we mean? What is our self? Who are we? Right? The soul. So our self-interest is the service of the soul. And the service of the soul is Mama Vansa Jivaloke. Is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The service of the soul is to serve the super soul, serve the Supreme Lord. The service of a part is to serve the whole, the Supreme Lord. So our real self-interest, right, is to serve the Supreme Lord. And continuously engage in the devotional service to the Lord. That is our real self-interest. Statement of Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th chapter of Bhagavatam, 7th canto of Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, 25th verse. He's mentioning to his friends that at young age, otherwise the friends, especially we see now that they are continuously engaged in playing video games or running here and there. And what is Prahlad Maharaj telling them? My dear friends, born into atheistic families, if you can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then there is nothing more rare in this world. In other words, if the Supreme Lord Krishna is pleased with you, then any desire you may have within the core of your heart can be fulfilled without any doubt. As such, what is the use of elevating yourself by the results of fruitive activities, which are automatically achieved in all events with the modes of material nature? And what is the use for you of spiritual emancipation or liberation from material bondage? Right? If you always engage in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord and always releasing the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, then there is no necessity for any of this. So, engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord gives us such a nectar which cannot even be realized by any form of sense gratification and even liberation. Right? That's the higher stage of performing devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Like a devotee going on Braj Mandal Parikrama, when he's walking, it's mentioned that while walking barefoot, even if a thorn bits him, right, and the pain of the thorn beating on the Braj Mandal Parikrama, that pain is much, the pleasure of that pain is also much higher than Brahmanda realization or Sahyuja Mukti, liberation, right? That same Narsingha Leela, when Lord Nrsimhadev kills Hiranyakashipu, and initially so angry that all the demigods kind of push Prahlad Maharaj in the front to pacify Lord Nrsimhadev. After pacification of Lord Nrsimhadev by Prahlad Maharaj, the demigods are offering prayers. Lord Indra is offering here prayers. O Supreme One, these demons talk of our share of participation in the performance of ritualistic sacrifice, but simply by your appearance as Lord Nrsimhadev, you have saved us from terrible fears. Actually, our shares in the sacrificial performances are due to you only, because you are the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. You are the super soul of every living entity, and therefore you are the actual owner of everything. Bhagavad Gita says, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam santivachati. If we really want to attain peace, we need to understand that the Supreme Lord is Bhoktaram, is the supreme enjoyer, is the supreme beneficiary of all sacrifices, right? And is a well-wishing friend of everybody. If one understands that, he attains peace, right? For persons who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of your lordships, all the opulences which were taken away from us by the demons are counted as nothing. right? Hiranyakashipu had conquered everything. So Indra is mentioning all the opulences which are taken away from us by the demons are counted as nothing. Devotees do not care even for liberation, what to speak of these material opulences. Actually, we are not enjoyers of the fruits of sacrifices. Our only duty is to always be engaged in your service, for you are the enjoyer of everything. Right? The Supreme Lord is the enjoyer of everything. And our enjoyment comes in only serving the Supreme Lord. Gajendra to the Supreme Lord in the Gajendra Lila. My dear Lord, I have no experience of the transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service. So therefore I have asked from you some favor. But I know that persons who are pure devotees and have, by serving the lotus feet of great souls, become freed from all material desires, are always merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss, and as such are always simply satisfied by glorifying your auspicious characteristics. For them there is nothing else to aspire to or pray for. Right. He's asking here for a favor from the Supreme Lord, chanting out loudly the Lord's name. This case of calamity, where he's dragged into the river more and more by the crocodiles. And for him, for the Gajendra, it's a more like an unknown territory. So he's losing his energy more and more. So he's calling out the Supreme Lord in the same mood as in his previous life, as Indradimna was worshipping the Supreme Lord. Right. Here, Vaikuntapati Lord to Durvasa Muni, who has committed such a grave offense to Amrish Maharaj, right? That now, though Amrish Maharaj broke his fast, right? Broke his fast during the Parna time, with all rules and regulations, by not honoring Prasad but just taking 3 drops of water, so that the Parna time does not go away. But at the same time respecting his guests, like the sages headed by the Durvasa Muni who had come there, right? So he had actually not broken the fast. And technically at the same time, um, he was fasting from water, so he took 3 drops of water, and the Durvasa Muni became angry. And here is Amrish Maharaj, who is performing all 9 forms of devotional services. Right? That what happened? He created with his anger demonis who could not harm the Supreme so who could not harm Amrish Maharaj, and the Lord invoked Sudarshan Chakra, and Durvasa Muni is the Sudarshan Chakra is chasing Durvasa Muni. He goes to Brahma Loka, takes shelter of Lord Brahma. Brahma could not help. He goes to Shiva Loka. Lord Shiva cannot help. Right. He goes to ultimately Lord Narayan, and Lord Narayan say, "Oh no, I cannot help you. The only person who can help you is Amrish Maharaj. Take shelter of Amrish Maharaj, the devotee whom you offended." So the Lord mentions to Durvasa Muni, "My pure devotees are always satisfied being engaged in devotional service, and therefore they do not aspire even after the 5 liberated stages, which are to be one with me, as we talked about, Sahaja Mukti, to achieve residence on my planet, Samipya, Salokya Mukti, to have my opulences, Sarishti Mukti, to possess bodily features similar to mine, Sarupya Mukti, and to gain personal association with me." Right, Samipya Mukti. So when they are not interested even in these liberated positions, you can know how little they care for material opulences or material liberation. Right? They have no care for material opulence or material liberation. So he guides Durvasa Muni by this instruction. The Nagapatnis, they are praying in their prayers to the Supreme Lord. Dear Lord, the dust of your lotus feet is very wonderful. Any person who is fortunate enough to achieve this dust does not care for heavenly penance, lordship over all the planetary systems, the mystic perfections of yoga, or even liberation from material existence. In other words, anyone who adores the dust of your lotus feet does not care a fig for all other perfectional stages. Right? Anyone who gets the dust of your lotus feet, he does not care of anything else in this material world. Everybody is aspiring to get the dust of your lotus feet. So, what sacrifices or austerities did our husband, no, means, this Kalia Nag has performed, that he continuously got the dust of your lotus feet on his forehead, on his so many heads. You danced on top of them and you gave the dust of your lotus feet. The Nagapatnis are glorifying in their prayers to the Supreme Lord the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, which is much higher than any form of liberation. The Shrutis, the Vedas personified, is offering their prayers. Dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand spiritual knowledge. Your appearance here, just as you are, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge of the spirit. As such, your devotees were left their domestic comforts to associate with the liberated acharyas, teachers, are now fully merged in the devotion service of lordships, and thus they do not care for any so-called liberation. They fully merged into the devotional service of your lordships. They do not care for any so-called liberation. Right. Lord Krishna to Uddhavji mentions, my dear Uddhava, the devotees who have completely taken shelter of my service are so steadfast in devotion that they have no other desire. Even if they are offered the four kinds of spiritual opulences, like Sarupya, Samipya, Salokya, Sarasti, they will refuse to accept them. So what to speak of their desiring anything within the material world? Right? The devotees, this na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vajagadesha kama mama janmanishware bhavatad bhakti ahituki tvai. Right? They do not desire any material wealth or number of followers or beautiful women. Right? My dear Uddhava, a person whose consciousness is completely absorbed in my thought and activities does not aspire even to occupy the post of Brahma or the post of Indra or the post of lordships over the planets or the 8 kinds of mystic perfections or even liberation itself. They do not want any post, any kinds of mystic perfections or even liberation itself. Right. Why? Because the consciousness is completely absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord and activities. Right. Lord Shiva to Devi, my dear Devi, the great Brahmana sage Markandeya has attained unflinching faith and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such it does not aspire after any benedictions, including liberation from the material world. Right. And then in the Padma Puran we see these prayers of Damodar Lila, where no, it's in the 4th verse we see Varam Deva Mokshama Moksha Vadimva न चान्यम ऋण अहम वरेशादपिह idam te vapunata gopala balam sadamya manasya vilastam kimanyai. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation. Right? Nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. The devotee does not desire to even know the feature of Paramatma. The yogis desire to know the feature of Paramatma, the Astanga yogis, but not the Bhakti yogis. Right? They just want to see in their meditation the form of the Supreme Lord. Here in the prayers, the Balya Lila, the childhood pastimes. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. Right? never been acted in my heart. And then we see in verse 7, especially in this Lila, we see this Nalakuvera and Manigriva are being delivered by Damodar, by Lord Krishna, who had come as Yamalatra Arjuna trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj after being cursed by Narad Muni for losing all kinds of shame, being intoxicated, and not realizing that Sage Narad Muni is passing by and they could not even offer respect. Right? And Narad Muni curses them. And even in the curse of a sage, blessings are there that ultimately you'll get deliverance from the Lord Himself. And as trees, they're able to see the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and ultimately get delivered by the Lord. Says, O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby mother Yasoda, bound into a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows, you then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Kuvera, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. Again, a devotee does not desire for liberation into the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. Right? Beyond the effulgence of the Supreme Lord is what? Brahma Jyoti. Beyond the effulgence of the Supreme Lord is the Lord Himself. A devotee of the Lord is continuously engaged in serving the Supreme Lord. Right? That they do not desire any kind of forms of liberation. They do not desire any form of material enjoyment. Okay, are there any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all praise to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, here other perfectional stages I did not get that, Prabhuji. Naga Patni's in that slide, Prabhuji. Anyone
The
who
other perfectional stages of means when a person performs the eight fold mystic yoga perfection, right? Yam, Niyam, Asan, in Ashtanga yoga. There are other mystic perfections which come automatically while you're controlling the mind. The byproducts of controlling the mind is this mystic perfection, right? Anima Siddhi, Lagima Siddhi, and all those kind of mystic perfections. So a devotee does not desire any form of this mystic perfection. They are like the byproducts, right? So that's what the Nagapatnis mentioned. That we don't want compared to the dust of a lotus feet. And we see like Uddhavji, the Lord sends Uddhavji with a message to give to the gopis. And when he sees the mood of the Vrajvasis, what does Uddhavji desire? Oh, let me be the creeper, right? He thought that he's an advanced devotee, and now the Lord has confided in him to send this message to the Vrajvasis and ultimately teach them. But instead of teaching them, he learns from them the mood of service from the Supreme Lord, and so much so that he kind of desires to become a creeper in Vraj. Yeah, let me get the dust of the lotus feet of these Vrajvasis. Right? So the pleasure of that dust which the Nagapatni are mentioning that how our husband got it. Right? No matter how fortunate he is that Mother Lakshmi herself is praying to get the dust in Vraj. She's not getting it and the husband is getting it. So that is much higher than any kind of mystic perfections. Is that okay? Okay, thank
yes,
you.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. And one more question is that the fifth one, the you have talked about the liberation, 5 kinds of liberation. So the fifth one is not in the liberation, no, Prabhuji? It's not a part of liberation, no, the fifth point, to gain the personal association with me.
Yeah, so that is also one form of liberation. So just like, we have this Sayujya Mukti is to become one with the Supreme Lord. The other 4 kinds of spiritual opulences which may be granted to the devotee is Samipya Mukti, staying close to the Supreme Lord, right? Sarishti Mukti, having the same opulence as the Supreme Lord. Salokya Mukti, staying in the same planet as the Supreme Lord. Sarupya Mukti, having the same form as the Supreme Lord. So that Samipya Mukti is living as a personal associate of the Supreme Lord. But he does not desire that. Because he does not want to. Uh, uh, what he desires, not become personal associate, means, let me just perform service. Serving the Supreme Lord is the highest form. Compared to serving the Supreme Lord, these other 4 forms of spiritual opulences, he also does not desire. He may be granted one, but he does not desire for it.
So what would be the example of personal association, Prabhuji? Like Hanumanji, is it serving to the God or the personal association?
Serving the God. He is always serving the Supreme Lord, Lord Ramachandra. Like Hanumanji, he knows that the higher form uh, of the Supreme Lord is Lord Krishna, Lord Narayan, right? Like Lord Ramachandra is one form of Lord Narayan. But he is so satisfied in serving the Supreme Lord in that servitor mood. That's why he is considered as the personification of this Dashya mood, right? So he is so satisfied in serving the Supreme Lord that he does not, though he knows that there is higher rasas, mallows, that becoming the friend of the Lord is higher than Dasya. Becoming a parent of the Lord is higher than Dasya and Sakya, right? Or having conjugal relationship with the Lord is higher than the other 3 forms. Still, they are completely satisfied in the Dasya mood that he does not desire the higher forms also, right? So, that's why we see in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Narad Muni, uh, yeah, when he comes to our Hanumanji, he kind of mentions that, okay, you like to come with me to meet the Yadavas, right? Initially, from Hanumanji to the Pandavas, because the Pandavas get more personal association with the Supreme Lord, right? So Hanumanji is completely satisfied in Kim Purusha Loka that he does not want to go even to get close association of the Supreme Lord. So he is completely satisfied in serving the Supreme Lord as Lord Ramachandra, right? So as Hanumanji, we see, he's not just wanting to be around the Supreme Lord. He carries the Supreme Lord within him and is always ready to serve the Supreme Lord. In Ramayana also we see he performs so many service for the Supreme Lord. Immediately he goes out to search for Mother Sita, crosses this ocean, right, which others say, oh, now how are we going to cross the ocean? And we see uh, what is Jambavan. He kind of reminds, right, Hanumanji his strength, and immediately he uses his strength to go past the ocean to Lanka. to assess all strength of Ravana and to ultimately search for Mother Sita there. So he's completely serving the Supreme Lord. So service is much higher than even getting personal association of the Supreme Lord. Yeah? Is that all right, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any other discussions?
Prabhuji, can I ask one more question?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Prabhuji, you have explained self-interest regarding the self-interest, no, Prabhuji? So there are 5 kinds of rasas, no? So that rasas will come in the self-interest, Prabhuji, in which rasa we want to serve to Lord. That will come in self-interest, Prabhuji?
Well, self-interest is basically, as I was mentioning, that real self-interest is what? The real self is the soul. And real self-interest is to the soul, the part of the Supreme Lord serving the whole. That's the real self-interest. Right? So that particular point is emphasized, that the real self-interest is serving the Supreme Lord. Right? Performing devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Now, when you perform the devotional service to the Supreme Lord, you are situated in one of the mellows. You can perform the devotional service to the Supreme Lord in neutrality, which is a Santaras. You can perform the devotional service to the Supreme Lord in Dasya mood, servitorship. And they are connected with each other. One is like mathematics, one is like a subset to the other one. So Dasya ras includes Santa and Dasya. Sakhya includes Santa, Dasya and Sakhya. Vatsalya includes Santa, Dasya, Sakhya and Vatsalya. And Madhurya includes all the 4 other rasas. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other discussion? Everybody else seems to be in a silent mode. Are they listening or they went to sleep? Everybody else? Haribol.
Yes, we are here, Prabhuji. Wonderful class. Hari Bol. No
Haribol,
questions.
Mataji. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions, discussions, or reflections which you like to add? Okay. It's 8 o'clock. If you don't have any questions, I'm not going to hold you.
Prabhuji, when we say like Vidhata we say, no? Ki,
Yeah.
so Prabhuji, who is Vidhata? Means what is Vidhata? Like we say, no, this our karmas are that are everything is judged by Vidhata. So Brahmaji is Vidhata. Who is doing everything, Prabhuji?
Yeah. So the Vidhata is, I mean, good question. Who is the real Vidhata?
Okay. Tablet వేసుకున్నావా?
Haribo. Yeah. So the real Vidhata is the Supreme Lord.
ఉన్నట్టు పాటు అయినా ఇప్పుడే అయినా టాబ్లెట్ వేసుకున్న హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్.
Yeah, let's see. Somebody thing is. Yeah. So the real Vidhata is the Supreme Lord. Right? A Brahma Bhuvana Loke Puna Avartina Arjuna. All the way from Lord Brahma to an insignificant ant, everybody goes to this birth death cycle. Even Lord Brahma has an age. After a certain age, 100 years, he leaves his post, his body, and he's living in Satyaloka, but he also goes to this cycle. So his Vidhata, his destiny is also fixed by the Supreme Lord. Right. So the real Vidhata is the Supreme Lord. Right. Now he empowers his associates, like the demigods, just serving the Supreme Lord. Though they may have some material desires, and though their life or their post is not fixed, they are assigned to that post by the Supreme Lord to help the Supreme Lord in his governance. So the Lord can do everything by himself. He's Atmanam. Right. Atmanam. So though so for each and every demigod's providence is also fixed by the Supreme Lord. Right. So our providence is also fixed ultimately by the Supreme Lord. Though it may come as, okay, Lord Brahmaji does secondary creation, the primary creation is done by the Supreme Lord. Right. And secondary creation Lord Brahma does to help the Supreme Lord. Right. So ultimately the providence is fixed by the Supreme Lord of each and every living entity, all the way from Lord Brahma to an insignificant ant. Yeah. So, and he is the grantor that we see, Bhoktaram Yagatapasham. He's a supreme enjoyer, supreme beneficiary, and ultimately he is a grantor of liberation. If anybody can grant liberation, he can grant liberation. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord, the position of a devotee is so glorious in one sense that the Lord himself wants to experience that he comes as his devotee. That he comes as his devotee. Like Mahaprabhu comes as a devotee of the Supreme Lord. To experience the mood of separation which the devotees are feeling, which is much higher than the Lord himself feeling. Right. So the Lord himself expressed that, oh, how can they be feeling so much bliss? Right. So he desires to become his own devotee. And he comes as Mahaprabhu, he comes as Lord Nityananda. Yeah? Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah, all questions are asked by you and nice questions. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All
Please
glories to
accept my
Srila
humble
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
I have a question, Prabhuji. You just spoke about providence and everything being set by the Lord. I understand that. I understand that I'm not the doer. What I sometimes still struggle with is the idea of free will. And if Lord Krishna knows the past, present, and the future, and he's in control of everything, not a blade of grass waves in the wind without his giving it permission, how does free will to the conditioned soul actually come into play?
Yeah.
Could you explain your realizations as to how that works?
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. How does the free will come into play? So ultimately in Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, it explains about these three doers. That our free will is to just desire. Right? That our free will is very minute and we desire based on the influence of three modes of material nature. Right? We are either situated in predominantly mode of ignorance or mode of passion or mode of goodness. And according to that, we will desire certain things. Like my free will would say, like if I'm complete mode of ignorance, my desire would be that okay, I just want to, it's Friday night, I just want to, go out party. So I can just desire. So the soul's symptom is the consciousness, it can desire. But then the desire is sanctioned. Man proposes, God disposes, is sanctioned by the Supreme Lord. Right. And then by the agency of material nature, which is our body, those desire is carried out. So then these three doers are explained. Us as a soul which desires, the super soul, the Supreme Lord, which sanctions the desire, and the senses, the material body. So the agency of the material body, the desire is carried out. So as minute free will, we can desire. That's why when we want to desire separately from the Supreme Lord, for the Lord there is nothing separate, right? For the Lord, even his external energy is his energy. Maya, the external energy of the Supreme Lord, is also his energy, right? But we want to desire separately, so the Lord says, okay, he sanctions that, carry out that desire to the agency of material nature. And he gives us this 8.4 million different bodies to carry out that desire. Right? So that's how I, my realization would kind of say that, oh, yes, Lord is always merciful. He's fully merciful. Sometimes we say, oh, why he got the body of that? Because well, we desire to be like that. Why means, an insect has such a short life? Or why means, so many things happen, like means, bad things happen to good people. But no means that's providence. There's, in the eyes of the Lord, nothing escapes. Right? We see these pastime of Mundaka Muni, which I often mention. Mundaka Muni, he was performing austerities outside his ashram, and somehow was completely absorbed in performing austerities. Some dacoits came to his ashram, and then the guards were chasing them, and they came to the ashram, and before that the dacoits went away. So the guards felt that this Mundaka Muni, who is outside performing austerities, is accomplice of that dacoit. So they captured him and brought him in front of the king, and he was about to be punished. That he was about to be punished. Somehow somebody notified, no, this is the great sage. He's not the accomplice. We have probably done some mistake, and the king forgives him. So Mundaka Muni mentioned, he calls the Lord of Death, Yamraj, that throughout my life I don't remember committing one single offense, one single sin. I do not think of committing it. Though I was not punished, why I had to go through such humiliation? Right? He challenged Yamraj. So Yamraj mentioned that when you were a child, you were passing a thread through the eyes of a lance, like an insect. So for that, you had to go through this humiliation. So in the eyes of the Lord, even that thing, one time he may have performed, did not escape, and he had to go through that humiliation. So he kind of, initially got shaken up. He said, "Oh, okay, oh, that was committed as a child." And then he curses Yamraj to become Vidura. Right. So the idea is, in the eyes of the Lord, nothing escapes. So our free will, yeah, it's there, but it's very minute. We can just desire, like Arjuna, he can invoke Gandhiva at any time. His bow Gandhiva with prayers, he can invoke at any time. When the time comes, when he had to save the wives of Lord Krishna, when after Lord Krishna went back, he manifested his disappearance lila. He cannot even remember the mantras to invoke Gandhiva. Right? It's mentioned, Tesam Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. Dadami Buddhi Yugam Tam. The Lord provides him intelligence from within. The Lord provides him forgetfulness. Right? So Lord provided him forgetfulness, and he could not protect the queens. Right? Because the Lord wanted to completely wrap up his Leela with his associates. It is shown that he cannot protect, externally it is shown that he cannot even protect the queens. Because he could not build the Gandhiva bow. He forgot the mantras. So those are evidences. There's not even a blade of grass can move without his sanction. That's what it means. Like man proposes, God disposes. Without his sanction, the blade of grass cannot move. We can desire, as a blade of grass, I can desire, oh, I want to move. But that power of that movement comes from the Supreme Lord. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Yeah, I'm reflecting on, I've just had a realization as you were speaking. I spent nearly 40 years of this birth trying to enjoy my senses, actively choosing not to be, associated with God and Krishna. And so I was using my free will to become a demon, to live as a demon. And then Krishna took that free will away from me and turned me into a devotee. And it's interesting because now I'm using my free will to, dedicate my life to the service of Krishna. And it was beyond my control. It's not something that I wanted. But Krishna desired this for me, and so this is why I'm bewildered, about free will, because I had free will, and it seems as though it was taken away, and it was given back to me, and now my free will is refocused, and so it's why I always like to ask about free will, because I still can't quite grasp it. But thank you for sharing your realizations.
Yeah. Like in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, Niha Bikramanastu Asti Pratyavayana Vidyate, right? There is no loss or diminution in this process. In the process of devotional service, there is no loss or diminution. A person starts from where he is left, where he has left from the previous life. So it works a weird way where many devotees, we see that they were the least considered as a candidate that they would take to devotional service. But somehow or other they take to devotional service. And they start from where they left in the previous life. Right. We see Valya demon, we see Mrigari the hunter, so many sinful activities. But mercy of the devotee comes, mercy of the Lord comes, and suddenly they take to devotional service. And ultimately, they start from where they left. And we see big advancement, like Valya the demon became sage Valmiki, who wrote Ramayana. Right? So how that transformation takes place, it's inconceivable for us to comprehend that, how did I, suddenly become so fortunate? So Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagyavat Jiva. After many, many lifetimes, somehow we come by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Anything is possible. Yeah, anything is possible. Is that okay, Prabhuji? Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Okay. If there are no questions, we will end our session. Vancha kalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavinda ki jai. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, भक्ति रसामृता सिंधु की जय, और प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि
हरि बोल
रूप गोस्वामी की जय.
जय.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Haribol.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Venkata Prabhu. Jai Jai. Thank you. Thank you. Hari Bol. Jai. And end here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Shemeshwar Prabhu. Yeah, we'll end here. Yeah. He must be in the Bhakti Viksha, so.